question of the last 2 years, hasn't it? Right.
Yeah.
So, but we got food in the fridge and a house roof over our head. So, I mean, we got nothing to complain about. So we're good. Business is coming back nicely, which is good. And I'm, I'm back on deck in a very loose sense. Like I'm just doing some contract work with a couple of local clubs here, just a couple of sessions a week. So that's good. And it's good to be able to do that and kind of not get kind of drawn into all the other stuff that goes on in terms of running a club. So it's nice just to get on deck and just help the kids and whatnot. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, if you don't miss coaching, it's in the wrong profession, right?
I mean, it's the thing that, like I miss working with the kids and stuff like that. And, when, life evolves and you don't kind of, keep up with it, you kind of get, you lose balance a little bit, I guess is probably the best way to say it. Right. So,
yeah.
So that said, I mean, like, it's just nice to be back in the fold and, helping out and playing a role, a positive role again. Right. So, I've definitely, like I know where I like to be in the system. Right. And within the roles of the swim club, I know I have no desire to be out front. I just want to be somewhere in the middle where I can help and not have to deal with all the rest of the stuff that goes on with being out front. So
yeah, that's well put.
But anyways, I'm gonna get into all this stuff and
Sure.
kind of go through it here with you. So I'm gonna play a quick intro video, and then we'll just kind of get going through this. And then, how long do you have? Because I got about 30 minutes scheduled. For this. Does it work for you?
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get it going here. Morning, folks, and welcome to the On Deck Show. This show takes a look at people who understand the importance of building strong communities and the impacts that they have for those that exist and live in those communities. This morning's guest is a product of his community. Justin Daly is the head coach of the Chilliwack Spartan Swim Club. He was born and raised there. He swam there, went to university in the Fraser Valley, now has come full circle and leading the team and giving back to the youth. We're going to talk to Justin and truly dive into why he does what he does, not only as a swim coach, but as a volunteer firefighter, as an outdoorsman, as a parent, as a community member. It's going to be a great talk. Stay tuned. This episode is being produced by the Ocean Junction Podcast Network. It's sponsored by OceanJunction.com. They have what you need for swimming in the pool, lake, and ocean. All right, welcome back, Justin.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so one of the things that I was thinking about when I started putting together kind of the show plan for this is I recalled back to the conversation I had with one of your volunteers when I was doing some work, arranging some stuff for the Spartan Swim Club in the summertime, and she mentioned that you were off with the correct me if I'm wrong, it was volunteer firefighters or with the fire service, but you were battling forest fires this summer. So tell me a little bit about that, and like how did that end up being part of your your portfolio, like what you do now?
Yeah, so I guess I've been with our fire department up here. We're up Chilliwack River Valley, and I think I'm 11, 12 years on the haul, and I just kind of got involved with that. I'd done some stuff with forestry in the past, but I had some friends that were in the fire department field. And when we moved up here, everybody's kind of like the bigger properties and everybody's kind of separated. And I didn't know a lot of people in the community. We're only 10, 15 minutes out of Chilliwack, but I thought like getting involved in the fire hall would be a good way to get some community contacts up here. And it's just kind of rolled from there. It's been great. Lots of great guys, girls that are on the hall there. And we we had quite the summer here in BC for in terms of forest firefighting. And our hall, just because of we're more rural and we're up in the mountains, we've trained a lot in the forestry end of things. And so it's been the last few years where they've put us on a deployment package that the province does when they need extra resources, and which seems to be more and more every year. And so when I have time and I can get away from the pool for a few days, we were able to go up there with a fire engine and help out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like that's and it's a big task, and especially now, and these past few years in BC. Not that it hasn't been an issue before, but man, has it ever gotten worse? So I mean,
Yeah.
let's come back to that. So just take me through a quick history, like in 30 seconds or less. Starting swimming, who you swam with, what swimming was to you. I think you have a little bit of you dabbled in triathlon a little bit too. I think.
Yeah. So yeah, swimming. I kind of started swimming late. So I started swimming around 8 or 9, which is kind of late in our sport, and just enjoyed it. I played a ton of different sports, and I kind of went along with swimming. I swam in Chilliwack. I just swam till grade 12, and then I got involved with coaching after that, and I did a bit of triathlon training, as you mentioned, as well in my early 20s.
So, sounds good. So where I want to kind of start to build sort of the idea around, like you and what you're doing there. Talk to me about what was the Chilliwack Spartan Swim Club like when you were swimming, and how does it differ from what it is now?
Yeah, so like the club developed it was a military club. We used to have a military presence in Chilliwack and still do a bit. And then the kind of the pool and the facility was built for them, and that's how it kind of got its origin. Like when I swam with the club, it was small. We had we had good members. We had good athletes and lots of people making teams, but it was quite a bit smaller than it is today. And when I took over as the head coach, I think we were around 70 kids as an entire operation, and that's I think 12, maybe 13 years ago now. And I think we've developed, and partially because of programming and partially just because of how much the Lower Mainland's growing. But we've registered already 280 this year.
That's pretty significant growth. From a philosophical standpoint, and talking about community, and let alone like your choice to. I mean, you talked about a little bit your involvement with the fire department before, but really what it comes down to is kind of building that community. And from what I know about the folks out in Chilliwack and the club out in Chilliwack, I mean, it's a one club town, but there are plenty of one club town swim clubs that don't do very well, right? So there's always been a really good, really strong community presence. You even see that in the press coverage that the club gets, the local newspapers and stuff like that. So where does that come from, and how do you see your role in that?
Yeah, I don't know. We try to make the club as inclusive as possible, and right down to just talk. I think it really starts with working with everyone in your community to build the club up as something that everyone's proud of. So for me, like talking with even the lifeguards at the pool, making sure that they know we're there, helping them move kids along from what they're doing with their swimming lesson programs, and or helping them to pull them along to train them to be coaches if needed, to having because we're small, but like it is getting pretty big in Chilliwack here, but just keeping a good relationship with the paper. You mentioned that, and the publicity we get through them, through like the Chilliwack Progress and things, and just keeping a relationship and dialogue open with these people, and treating it, I guess, like a small community, as you're saying, but knowing that there is a pretty big audience, and there's lots of people. If you stay connected, that spread kind of your philosophy on the team, and how you want things to continue to grow out here.
Yeah, so unpack that a little bit, because I mean, there's plenty of people, plenty of examples. Let me say, I don't want to dwindle this down to the concept of people, but plenty of examples where there's lots of people that communicate their philosophies, but it's not received really well, and then that ultimately ends up going off the rails. But you mean like you've kept, what I want to point out here is like for 12 or 13 years, like you've kept the ecosystem really strong, really healthy, and from what I can see, really friendly. Like, it doesn't seem to be a lot of conflict out there. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, and it helps, like I think I've always had a pretty healthy relationship with our board and the team, and that helps me do my job and gets me excited to get up and work with the kids and work with everyone we have here. But I think it really comes from sticking to the vision that you have for your program and the philosophies that you have, and I try to like hold myself accountable to those. I try to hold the athletes accountable to that, and I think that's what really helps maintain um, maintain that system that we have. If your athletes are buying in, your younger athletes, they'll be seeing what your older athletes are doing, and it's easier to get them to buy in. But like if you're putting 200 kids, 250 kids through your program every year, and they're going out in your community, and you've instilled what you believe your program should be year after year, and it's been consistent. That's a lot of kids walking around Chilliwack that are getting into their late teens or having kids of their own, and when it's maintained like that and it's just year after year, I think you can really build on something. We have like lots of the kids that I swam with, their kids are now swimming in the club, and we see that all the time, and it's great. And those people are fantastic to have back. They know the direction that we're trying to go all the time, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we recently did an episode with Peter Carpenter from McGill University, and talked to him about, the concept of a flywheel and how that might, apply to sports. And basically, in essence, it's systematic momentum. It's like what you do to keep gathering momentum and what your next steps are to keep that flywheel turning, and so on and so forth. And you talk about having kids come back to your program and families come back to your program. I mean, like, that's fantastic. So pushing out your vision and philosophy. So talk to me about you. I don't know if it differs for you personally, personal vision, club vision, like, do they align? Are they different?
Yeah, I feel our club vision is my vision. I see myself as more like, I guess, a general manager for the program that we have. As I said, we have a great relationship, myself and our executive, and I feel that they employ me to for my vision and my philosophies, and I put those forward with our club. There's always things we reassess and reevaluate that I think we can do better, but yeah, I think the club aligns with that, and it kind of just comes down to the accountability of what I want to see moving forward from each age group going through our program all the way up into the parents. And yeah, I think we maintain that pretty good. And like one thing I have to say is I have a great assistant coach and a great staff, and the two of us are on the same page. We challenge each other, but at the same time, we're really driven in the same direction, and that's an enormous benefit, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mark's, he's definitely, you don't want to lose him. I mean,
No.
I know he's getting up there in age, and you probably would want to, move on to the, sunset time of his life sooner rather than later. But I mean, hopefully it's not too soon. But that said, I mean, talk to me about accountability and how you maintain that, given that, like, there's a natural attrition of the board, as swimmers move on and so on and so forth. So you're always kind of like thanking people as they've, given you service, and then welcoming new people in that are going to provide that same service in the board. So how do you communicate that accountability, and how do you deal with challenges when you have new people coming in that may not understand what's gone on in the past and how you've done things or how the club has done things? So.
Yeah. So one thing is we a lot of the people that we employ do a lot of stuff that executive members might do in other clubs. There's They do a lot. There's lots that they do have control over. That's their job. But we make sure that things that need to be taken care of are paid positions. That's one big change that we made, and that helps with that consistency. And then we've been really lucky. I've worked with some great people, and we've had a lot of people stay on our board, and we've created positions like that a certain amount of board members are allowed to stay on after their kids have finished swimming if they've gone through the entirety of the program. And my president right now of the club, I think he's been my president for probably 7 or 8 years now.
Oh, no kidding.
And yeah, and his son was a really great swimmer, Carson Olofsson, and so our president, he stayed on. His son's now retired. He was swimming for UBC for the last 4 or 5 years, and he's retired from swimming. And Chris has stayed on. So people like that help a lot. But just when if I find when we're paying people or coaches and staff are doing a lot of these jobs, but they're also like, we'll say we're doing registration. Well, the staff does the registration, but you're working with a registrar. So when you stay in contact and you're working with these people and the new ones that are coming in, it helps definitely get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. And same, I guess, kind of same but similar question in terms of kids and stuff like that. I mean, like we all know, I mean, like you've been in the sport for any period of time, that like you deal with a whole variety of different types of personalities, right? And you have kids that like they come up and they're kind of eager to do whatever you ask them to do, and you have other kids that are just they kind of fight the process all the way through, right? So again, like given the success you've had in building the club and maintaining the flow, I mean, like what's your take on motivation? Let me just put it that way, right? When kids come in, like to what extent do you work to bring them in, or are you kind of more the type of personality that's going to let them find their own way and find their way back?
I guess maybe a bit of both. Just as long as they're being a good teammate, I'm good with them kind of finding their own way. And it depends on the athlete and what they want from their sport. And so they're providing me with goals for what they want, and then they're put into appropriate groups based on that. But yeah, there's lots of different athletes that you get going through the program. I find that sometimes, like when kids move and stuff, and you get kids from other programs coming in, it can be challenging just for them to understand what my expectations are. But it almost always works itself out. Sometimes there's 6 months, and not to say that I'm hard on them or I say that I have the only way of doing something, but it's just consistency where if all the other kids are expected to do X, Y, and Z, you are as well. And you need to learn that that's the way the program is operating. And if you're falling within those guidelines and you're working to that, or you're being a good teammate to that level, I think there's still lots of leeway for all these kids to be an individual. And I think if you try to take that away from them, it wouldn't be very fun for me, and I don't think it'd be very fun for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've had the experience where you've had kids that have come in and challenged you and made you better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. We were we're just at we're just at trials in Victoria, and we just happened to be sitting in front of the Toronto High Performance Center. All those girls, they got ticking along pretty good right now, and yeah, it was a bit of a wake up for some of my kids, just seeing how focused they are, and just even right down to their activations and things like that. And yeah, some of them are saying, "Hey, why don't we do that? I want to do that." And I said, "Well, that's great. Let's start doing that."
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's great. I mean, to for you to see that I mean, like you have the open mind and you're willing to take that and so on and so forth. I mean, again, like it's maybe it's refreshing. I don't know. I mean, we've all met plenty of people that have just been of the mindset, well, it's not my idea, it's not good, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, that said, I mean, like going back to what you're saying, would you say that you have high expectations of your kids and board members and staff?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I do. I think of the athletes I like to see them obviously swim to their potential or swim past maybe what they think their potential is. And yeah, I have high expectations of all of them. But I think most kids do, whether they say it or not. They have they want to do their best, right? So you got to find a way for each individual and how that's going to work for them. I definitely don't feel like I treat every kid the same. I think I treat them fairly. I treat them all fair, I think. But you got to treat them all like a little different. They all got different personalities. Some kid needs to stop and talk for a while. Another kid needs to be told to go, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I have high expectations of them.
It's really interesting you bring that up, or timely. Anyways, I was talking to somebody recently about the difference between fair and equal and how it's very often confused.
Yes.
Right? Treating people the same is not the same thing as treating people fairly, right? And
I agree with that.
So to what extent do you have to explain that to people or talk to people about that?
Yeah, I don't. I think the kids see that. You try to interact with every kid on a personal level, and I think if you're able to do that and connect with kids individually, they see that, and they see, yeah, I'm different with different athletes, and I don't think I've been questioned on that too much, saying, hey, why are you doing that with them and not them?
Mm.
But yeah, I do that. Yeah, I treat them different. Sure. Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's just so often confused, and like
yeah,
you can't articulate it properly, then you often get yourself into trouble, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I want to kind of go on to more of, I guess, kind of the personal stuff and like how you create balance in your life, because I mean, even from the tone of this interview, I mean, like you get the sense you're a fairly grounded person, right? So I know you love the outdoors. You love to fish, you love to hunt. We've talked about your activities and with the fire department and stuff like that. But there have been times when like I've rang you up or talked to somebody else, and it was just like, nope, Justin's off. He's time for him to go hunting. It's his annual hunting trip, and so on and so forth. And so why is it important for you to do that? And is that a mechanism for you to kind of create balance in everything else you do?
Yeah, for sure. Like I really like my job. I like working with kids. I don't think you could do this if you didn't. But I love hunting. I love going fishing. Spending time with my family. If I'm like, I think it kind of goes like back to the old saying, like if you have negative energy, like you'll project that, like whether you're trying to or not. Like if you go into a practice and you're upset or something's bothering you, the kids see that right away. You don't come away from that practice feeling like it was as good as it could have been, right? And you're not connecting with people when you're like that. So yeah, I think it's really important. I don't think enough coaches take enough time for themselves to do other things that they love, and I think it makes me. I know it makes me better at everything that I do. We just finished trials. Got 10 kids going to Westerns next Wednesday. I'm going camping for 4 days tomorrow. So Mark is going to watch them. I'll get back Monday, so I miss pool's closed Friday. So Mark will take them Saturday, Sunday, and I'll be back Monday. So they can go swim 2 practices with another coach, which I think is really important as well. Like they start to feel like they need me more than they think, and it's bad if I start to feel like I need them more than other things, right? So, yeah, I think it's really important. So, like, I'll go camping with my family and with the RV for 4 days, and we'll come back and we'll get back at her. And I guarantee you, I'm going to be happy and projecting positive energy.
Yeah, it's a great message, and it's one of those things that my wife, who's a psychologist, she calls it manifesting busy. And it's one of those things that like it's almost as from a society point of view, we've been trained that this is a signal of importance or a signal of a success or whatever the case is, right? And to manifest busy, really, it's not a healthy thing, right? So when you can truly achieve that balance, like you have, and I have much respect for that, when you can truly achieve that balance, like you have, like you create that environment. And I guess that kind of comes back and that rounds off everything that I wanted to kind of get to really nicely in terms of, like how you can maintain a club the way that you've been maintaining it for, over a decade now, with the same amount of success, and to do things like, even I'm not sure, and maybe you can talk to me a little bit about it, like how you made those changes at the board level to allow people to stay on after their kids had stopped swimming. But even that, I mean, like that's a thoughtful move to make, right? Because you're ultimately, what you're doing is you're allowing people that have the experience, that want to help, to remain in your ecosystem and continue to help. So was that something that you did intentionally?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that when I took over as head coach, the only thing I had coached for and run a program for was like a summer club. Other than that, I'd been assistant coach or working with younger kids. And so I talked to many coaches I could on pool deck, and what works for you, and programs that I thought were sustainable. And over the years, there's ups and downs, but they're always producing good athletes. The coaches seem to have a good quality of life in terms of their job position. So I spoke to lots of coaches, and I actually took that from another coach that had been doing that, and I thought that was a great idea.
Do you want to pass on credit for that? And who
Well,
did you talk to?
Jersey, up in Prince George.
Mm.
He had a president that was there for a long time, and he said, this, like my life's easier when this guy's the president, and I've asked him to stay on. And so it wasn't necessarily that I went looking for a president that would stay on, but when I had good people and asked them if they would stick around. I have a treasurer that's been on our board for like 10 years now as well.
Yeah.
And it comes down to things like I was talking about, having coaches, maybe increasing salaries or finding more positions and taking some responsibility from the executive and having staff do that. I talked to coaches that had done that, and their program seemed very sustainable. And then you're more likely to keep staff around if you're able to pay them a bit more and give them some more work, right? So it was just a lot of some stuff I figured out for myself, but I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of smarter people out there than me, so I've gone and asked a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old Isaac Newton adage, and I am who I am because I stand on the shoulders of giants that came before me, right? So
Yeah.
Anyways, look, I mean, this has been a really fantastic talk, and I want to round it out just with some, I guess, a couple of questions. So if you could go into, and whether this is a set or a philosophy or an idea or a state of mind, whatever it is, something that sticks out to you from 12 years ago that you loved doing 12 years ago that you no longer do now, and something that you do now that you never thought you would be doing 12 years ago.
In terms of with the club?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, like I'll put it to you this way: like when I interviewed Peter a few weeks ago, I asked him, like, what was your favorite set 10 years ago, and how would that change what you're doing now, right? So it could be a set, could be an idea, could be a philosophy, whatever it is.
So the biggest thing that comes to mind that I did when I started coaching, that I don't do now, or I try not to. I I still am. I'm big on like an aerobic background for these kids, and being able to do the meters, and especially when they're younger, to learn that. But I felt when I first started coaching, I had some pretty good kids, and they were really fit, in great shape, not fast. None of them were fast. I really felt I trained speed out of athletes when I started coaching, and so try to incorporate a lot more speed stuff, and work with their rates and things like that, and make sure that they're able to transfer this fitness into speed. Because I just looked at myself and go, well, we're doing 9 practices a week, and that's all to go fast in 200 meters or 400 meters or whatever it is, and we're doing all these meters, and these kids are in really great shape, and I can make them go run 10K with me, no problem. And they can do all this stuff, but they're not very fast. so that's probably one of the biggest things I've changed in terms of that, and like sets and stuff. I picked up tons of sets and stuff from people, and they're great, and I'm always trying new ones. So if anybody listening to this and they think they've got
away some sets,
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll try it for sure. Yeah.
It is really interesting because that was almost Peter's answer to a T. It was almost the exact same answer.
That's funny.
But yeah, and then just a little bit of a jovial question to kind of round things out here. But top 3 or top 5 Canadian, if preferable, rock bands.
Rock bands. Well, the Tragically Hip's number 1.
Yeah,
for sure. I like Neil Young. I don't think Spotify does anymore, right?
Yeah, they got some conflict going on.
I'd have to go. I like Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
and I'm an Aerosmith fan, you could say. Yeah. Yeah, I'll go one more. I'll go with the Rolling Stones.
Oh man, all classic rock. Well, I mean, I guess the Tragically Hip and Aerosmith, they weren't classic rock when we were growing up, but
that's right.
They certainly are now. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, look, I mean, I really appreciate your time here, Justin, and I wish the Chilliwack Spartan Swim Club all the best. You guys all the best, and continue doing what you're doing. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. So
yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me on. It was way less painful, less than I thought, and great questions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look to check this out, and we'll definitely get. I'll let you know when it goes out on Spotify and YouTube and whatnot. So
awesome.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Jason. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.